So give us your elevator speech.
Basically, I'm a holistic health coach, which means I'm definitely not a doctor. But I do specialize in wellness and, like I said, in a holistic way. So looking at the person's entire body, lifestyle, what they're eating, drinking, how they're exercising, what kind of role flexibility plays, their cultural background, what goes on in their family, how their family eats, how they interact at work with their coworkers. All of it comes into play for a more well-rounded approach to their health and wellness.
So a full 360 view.
Yes.
Instead of just worrying about the exercise component.
I find it interesting you talked about cultural and work environment. Why is that important?
Culture is tied into food. There's no two ways about it.
Okay.
So if I were to tell you you're struggling with type 2 diabetes and now I'm going to strip away all of the festivities, all of the parties, all of the family gatherings, I'm going to take everything away from you that you've ever known growing up, that would scare someone, right?
It would.
They definitely wouldn't want to do it. And that's the typical mindset toward change in America and virtually around the world, but mainly in America.
Okay. The reason why I asked that question, because knowing a little bit of your story, that was a struggle for you growing up, and at one time you really struggled with diet, exercise, and that sort of thing. Go back and explain how you got to that point and where you, based on those issues and then the lifestyle changes you made and why.
Sure. I can explain it in one word. Meatballs. My grandmother on my father's side was from Sicily. My father's side is Italian. My mother's side is Puerto Rican. So if I were to adopt a diet that I could no longer have refined oil, there'd be a riot.
Absolutely.
You know, no olive oil, or if I were to go fully vegetarian, that would mean, you know, no sausage and peppers, no meatballs. So I was, I wouldn't say timid, but I was kind of reluctant to change the way that I was eating because I felt like I would alienate my family and they wouldn't understand how crucial it was that I really did change my entire approach to life. It wasn't just about the food, but I felt like I wouldn't be able to sit at the dinner table, and when I did my juice fast, it was that way. I felt like I wasn't part of the family. Even though my family never said that, I felt separated from them because I wasn't enjoying the food.
At what point in your life did you really decide I'm going to change this, and what was the driving force that caused you?
Almost exactly 10 years ago, I was in Key West, and I was walking around. I've always loved to swim. I played water polo. I was on the swim team for as long as I can remember, and I could barely walk. So I was in such pain, and I was so inflamed. If you were to look at a picture of me then versus now, it's not that I was heavier, it's that I was round. I was just so inflamed. I felt like I had a suit on, like a sumo suit, that I needed to just unzip and burst out of, like I was hidden, stuck in the middle of it.
Fascinating.
So it was odd, and I think that was the turning point, that I really just didn't recognize myself. I wasn't able to enjoy the things. It was, quality of life was suffering for sure.
So what did you do?
I learned all I could learn about food.
Okay.
So I went.
Was this before college or after college?
This was, I was in college, it was during college.
Okay.
So I went through culinary school and I went for baking and pastry, believe it or not. But it's because it had a food science component.
Okay.
So I learned all that I could learn about food, and then I started working at a retirement home. And I worked in the cafeteria.
Okay.
So I was serving people, and I saw the end of life. And it truly impacted me to see that, to see husbands and wives coming in and then just husbands sitting to dinner because their wives had passed or vice versa, or the patients having to go off to the dementia ward. And like I said, I was in culinary school, so I started getting into dietetics and what are they serving them in the kitchen, and it was so far off of what we were learning in culinary school. So I thought, this is perfect, the worlds need to collide. There has to be some kind of portion of society that's built out for taste to meet nutritional need.
Okay.
And that wasn't occurring at that time.
What things do you do to identify that? How do you work with them? What are some specific things related to diabetes versus other types of people that you would work with?
The diabetes patient, for lack of a better word, or client.
Client would be better.
Yeah, so the diabetes client is special and unique in the fact that usually they're more open. I find them to be more open than my other clients for some reason, especially the men. Because the men come up to me with no shame, doesn't matter how old they are. They say, listen, I noticed diabetes, erectile dysfunction. So it's crucial. It affects their marriages, their relationships. It affects how they feel as a man. On women, the flip side, you know, they start to gain weight around the middle. They just don't feel sexy for their partner. So I get that a lot with diabetes patients or clients, more so than any other. And I definitely approach them differently because there's a lot of myths about diabetes. Even though it's the 7th leading cause of death for Americans, people say, oh, it's diabetes, you know? I'm over the age of 60, I'm going to have it, and there's no two ways about it, which is not necessarily so.
Okay, give me an example of a myth.
That's a myth. Just because you're old doesn't mean you're going to get diabetes.
That's true.
Right? The other one is that it's solely sugar-based. So a lot of the clients that I work with, they say, well, I cut out the soda. Why didn't my diabetes go away? And I say, well, where's your healthy fat coming from? Are you having a lot of refined oil? What else is going on in your life? It's not just a sugar issue. So a lot comes into play. Where's your fiber coming from? Are you balancing out protein with your carbohydrate in the morning? Are you looking at your life from an inflammatory point of view? Where's the inflammation ultimately coming from?
Okay. Inflammation, inflammatory.
So oftentimes with diabetes, you see hypertension,
Yes.
so high blood pressure. You see cardiac issues,
Yes.
right? You see a lot of pressure on the eyes, so glaucoma. You know, eye issues come about from that. But the number one thing is irritable bowel syndrome.
Right.
So you see that in conjunction. So inflammation of the bowel. Typically, when we start eating for better diabetic care, for promoting better insulin uptake or anti-insulin resistance within your body, people notice that their IBS starts to go away. So healthy gut, healthy life.
Okay. Okay, we're meeting in a Pilates studio. So this obviously is to discuss the importance of exercise. How important is it and why?
It's crucial. Absolutely crucial. At least 30 minutes a day. If you're struggling with diabetes, actually the more exercise, the harder you go. If you over-exercise, it can be detrimental to your health. You can do too much, elevate your stress response, and then you're in inflammation all over again. But gentler exercises like yoga, Pilates, swimming, that does wonders for your stress reduction and just your overall health.
Okay. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to sharing this with my classmates, and looking forward to putting it on YouTube and letting people see how smart you are.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.